She's not breathing. Someone help. Little Emma's cry echoed through the grand hall of Harrington Dynamics, making everyone whip around. The 7-year-old girl darted like the wind, her sneakers covered in dust, tears mingling with sweat. Behind her, the nanny chased breathlessly, her phone still vibrating violently in her hand. Everything stopped. But Emma looked at no one, asked for help from no one except the only person she trusted. She ran straight toward the man, pushing a cleaning cart at the end of the corridor. "Uncle Sam, you have to come. My mom. They hit my mom. She won't wake up." Sam Avery froze. His eyes blinked once and then changed completely. He set the broom down, stepped forward, and knelt to the girl's eye level, placing a hand gently on Emma's trembling shoulder. "Take me to her." No one had time to react. Emma grabbed his hand tightly, pulling him as if every second was the difference between life and death. And Sam, the man seen as a shadow in the hallway, suddenly rushed into the disaster as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Emma dragged Sam's hand, running across the great hall of Harrington Dynamics. Her small, ice-cold hand gripped him tight, clinging to him like a final lifeline in the chaos. The sound of her sneakers slapping against the marble floor echoed with tense rhythm. The company employees stood, rooted to the spot, eyes wide, no one understanding what was happening. A female employee touched her chest as if to calm herself, but her trembling hand betrayed the fear crawling down her spine. The security guard at the main entrance paused mid-stride, staring blankly as the two sped past, unsure whether to stop them or call for backup. Narrator, voiceover, deep and steady. No one realized that the 7-year-old girl flashing past them had just witnessed a scene no child should ever see. Sam ran just a half step behind Emma. He didn't look left or right, nor did he answer anyone. His black work shoes hit the floor with a steady, purposeful rhythm, vastly different from his usual shuffling gait. His uniform, a faded gray shirt, the name tag Sam Avery swaying slightly with his stride, suddenly looked ill-suited for the way he was moving now. He wasn't running like a janitor. He was running like a man who had once charged across a battle line. Emma choked back a sob, trying to hold her breath as she pressed the elevator button. Her face was flushed, hasty tears dropping onto the cold metal handle. The doors opened. Emma yanked Sam inside, her tiny hands shaking uncontrollably. Her voice hitched, broken. "Mom. Mom is down there. Uncle Sam. You have to. Hurry." Sam bent down to her eye level. Just for a second, but that second made Emma stop crying, because his eyes had changed, no longer gloomy, no longer tired. Instead, there was absolute focus, sharp. The sharpness of a man who had stood between life and death more times than he cared to remember. He placed a hand on Emma's shoulder, the pressure light but firm, and said only one sentence: "I won't leave your mom alone." The attack, flashback. The attack happened on a Thursday night. Basement parking level 3 was silent, as if it swallowed sound. Only the fluorescent lights flickered, casting down upon the cars that sat silent as ghosts. The wind from the vents created soft whistling sounds, like the breath of someone lying in ambush in the dark. Lucy Marshall walked down the lane alone. Her steps hurried. The briefcase in her hand slipped slightly due to sweat. She checked her phone. 10:34 p.m. A contract. A financial report. A backup data drive. And a truth that could destroy the entire career of CFO George Milton. Lucy exhaled, tired but determined. Tomorrow, she would present everything to the board of directors. But just 3 steps later, a shadow detached itself from the concrete pillar on her left. Lucy didn't have time to turn around. An arm locked around her shoulder. "Give me the drive." A man's voice, raspy, wearing a mask. Lucy's eyes went wide, and she recoiled in shock. "I don't know what you're talking a punch to the stomach cut her sentence short. The air was knocked out of her chest. Lucy doubled over, hands bracing on her knees, vision swimming. A second man appeared from behind. The two pinned her into the dark space between two SUVs. Another voice hissed, "The backup drive, Marshal." "You have it." Lucy shook her head, trying to stay conscious. "No, I don't." A powerful kick slammed into her ribs. A dry, cracking sound. Lucy's body crumpled onto the cold cement floor. The two men stood watching for a few seconds. One snatched her handbag, rifling through it. It didn't have what they needed. "Damn it. Let's go." "Someone's coming down." They vanished into the emergency stairwell, leaving Lucy lying motionless, her breathing shallow and broken. 5 minutes later, Emma walked into the parking lot with her nanny. She only saw her mother lying on her side, hair covering half her face, arms sprawled motionless. Emma's scream was still echoing inside the elevator as Sam rushed down. Voiceover, slow, tense, suppressing emotion. Not everyone knows that there are moments when the past we try to bury rises up, stronger than any fear. That was the moment Sam Avery saw Lucy. The elevator opened. Emma ran out first, her small legs stumbling. Sam followed immediately behind. The basement lights cast a glow on Lucy's face, bruised purple, matted with sweat, breathing heavy. A dried streak of blood ran from her temple down her cheek. Sam's eyes shifted once more. Not panic, not shock, but assessment. Fast, sharp, systematic. He dropped to his knees beside Lucy. His hands moved with millimeter precision. Check airway. Check pupil response. Check neck stability. His hand rested on her thoracic cavity, feeling the respiratory rhythm. Emma knelt down, holding her mother's hand, tears falling onto Lucy's shirt. "Uncle Sam." "Mom." Mom won't open her eyes. Sam spoke quietly, but decisively. "Emma, sit right here. Talk to your mom. Even if she doesn't answer yet, she can still hear you." Those words, simple as they were, had the power to hold the child together, keeping panic from swallowing her whole. He opened the old canvas bag he always wore across his body, the thing everyone assumed just held rags and gloves. It didn't. Inside was a military medical kit, complete with cotton, bandages, neck brace, hemostatic gauze, pressure dressings, and airways. A security guard ran over, freezing as he took in the scene. "Hey, what are you doing?" "The ambulance is on its way." Sam didn't look at him, simply stating, "If we wait for them, she might not make it." His voice wasn't loud, but there was something in the way he spoke that made the guard automatically step back. Sam applied the neck brace to Lucy, his movements so precise no one would believe this was the work of a cleaner. He checked the spreading bruise on Lucy's flank, touching it very lightly, his brow furrowing slightly. Internal bleeding. His voice was low and cold. Emma choked out, "Uncle, can you save my mom?" Sam looked at the girl. That look promised nothing. It simply said that he would do everything possible, and his hands continued to do the thing he had tried to avoid for years. Saving a life. 5 minutes later, the sirens arrive. The EMT stepped in, stopping dead in her tracks at the sight. Neck brace. Standard. Airway control. Standard. Hemorrhage control. Standard. Positioning. Trauma standard correct. She looked at Sam. "Who treated her first?" Sam only replied, "I did." The female technician's eyes went wide. A normal person can't do this. Sam didn't answer. Emma's clear voice still echoed in Lucy's head, very far away, as if coming from another room. But in the dark parking lot that night, Emma only cried, unable to speak a word. The ambulance doors slammed shut with a thud, cutting off all remaining sounds of the basement. Lucy was wheeled onto the stretcher, straps securing her body. The ceiling lights inside the vehicle flashed continuously, taking turns sweeping across her bruised face. Sam stood outside the yellow line. He didn't step onto the vehicle with them. Emma tried to reach out, but a paramedic gently pulled the girl back. Sam's voice lowered, steady. "Go with your mom. Stay by her side." The doors closed. The sirens screamed, tearing through the night. Sam stood motionless, his hands still smelling of antiseptic. In that moment, he looked like a man who had just been dragged back from a war he thought he had escaped. Narrator, slowly. The last time Sam Avery saw someone loaded onto an ambulance in this condition, he didn't get to say goodbye. He turned his back, walking straight toward the stairs, avoiding the gaze of anyone around. The name tag, Sam Avery, on his chest swung slightly, like a temporary identity he had never truly accepted. The awakening Lucy woke up in the hospital. The smell of disinfectant, the beep of the monitor, white lights. Lucy opened her eyes with the sensation that her body was as heavy as lead. She tried to turn her head. A sharp pain from her left ribs made her hiss through her teeth. A small voice whispered, "Mommy. Mommy, can you hear me?" Emma sat by the bed, eyes red and puffy, small hands gripping her mother's hand tight. It took Lucy a few seconds to piece the girl's face together with the present world. Emma. Her voice was hoarse. The nanny, Hannah, stood nearby and let out a sigh of relief, tears welling up. "Thank God, you're awake." The door opened. A female doctor entered, her eyes professional yet gentle. "Miss Marshall, it's good you're awake. You suffered head trauma, 3 cracked ribs, a deep laceration on your head, and mild abdominal hematoma. We've been monitoring you. You are temporarily safe." Lucy closed her eyes for a moment. The first question that came out wasn't, "What happened to me?" but, "The little one. Emma. Is my daughter okay?" The doctor offered a rare smile. "Your daughter is fine. And, you should know, if not for the first responder at the scene, the situation would have been much worse." Lucy frowned slightly. "The paramedics?" "No. A man from your company. They said he's a janitor, but he handled it like a trauma surgeon." Narrator interjecting. Slow, emphatic. "His name doesn't appear in any financial reports. But from now on, it will appear in every memory Lucy has of the line between life and death." The investigation begins. 3 hours later, when Lucy could speak for longer than 2 sentences, a middle-aged man in a gray suit knocked on the door. He introduced himself. "I am Detective David Cole, City Police Department. Miss Marshall, we need some information." His voice was deep, low, weary, with the tone of someone who had heard too many excuses and lies. Lucy nodded slightly. She recounted it. The parking lot, the shadow, the demand for the drive, the kicks, the pain, and then everything blurring. When Cole asked, "Do you suspect anyone behind this?" Lucy was silent for longer than usual. She wasn't one to point fingers without evidence. But in this matter, she had seen enough. "George Milton." She spoke slowly, enunciating every word. "The CFO. He has been hiding irregular transactions for 2 years. I backed up the data. The attack happened right after I gathered enough evidence." Cole took notes without blinking. "And the man who gave you first aid, Sam Avery, what do you know about him?" Lucy looked out the window. She recalled the man she saw every morning, bending under desks to pick up trash, pushing the mop bucket down the hallway. Looking back closely, she remembered the faint scars on his wrists, the slightly stiff walk, like someone who had worn heavy armor for too long. "I only know his name. Janitor. Quiet. My daughter. Likes him very much." Cole tilted his head slightly. "We pulled fingerprints from his medical kit. The results came back this morning." He paused, looking straight at Lucy, as if to ensure she was lucid enough to hear this. Sam Avery, formerly a captain, combat surgeon, U.S. Army Medical Corps, 3 tours in Afghanistan, medals, commendations, he has it all. Lucy's eyes widened. Then, why is he working as a janitor? Cole sighed softly, like a man who had seen many forms of broken people. Records show his wife, a combat nurse, was killed in an IED explosion while escorting an aid convoy. He was at the field hospital when it happened. After that, he left the service, never re-registered to practice medicine. 6 years with no information. Then, suddenly, he appears at your company as a janitor. Narrator, slowing down. There are wounds that do not appear on X-rays, that are not seen in lab results. But they are heavier than any shrapnel that ever embedded itself in flesh. Lucy swallowed hard. The image of Sam kneeling beside her in the garage, eyes calm to the point of coldness, hands steady, it all pieced together into a picture vastly different from the quiet janitor she had seen. Where is he? Now, Cole looked down at his notebook. After the ambulance left, he refused to go with them. Said he'd done enough. But this morning, he went to work as usual. Lucy closed her eyes, exhaling. I want to see him. The investigation lasts 3 days. During the 3 days Lucy lay in the hospital, the whole city seemed to revolve around one name, George Milton. From the garage cameras, police extracted images of 2 masked men running toward the stairs. From the phone of one of the men caught later, they found incoming calls from a subscriber registered to a shell company Milton controlled. The FBI got involved. Offshore accounts, shell companies, falsified invoices, everything gradually emerged, linking into a web that Lucy had sensed for a long time. Narrator, even, but cold. But sometimes it wears a tie, signs, reports, and smiles at shareholder meetings. Meanwhile, Emma sat by her mother's bed every day. The girl drew scribbly pictures. Mom lying on a hospital bed, next to a man holding a medical kit. On the man's shirt, she wrote in big letters, Sam. Lucy asked softly, You drew Uncle Sam? Emma nodded vigorously. If not for him, Mom would be gone. That sentence stabbed straight into Lucy's chest, hurting no less than her cracked ribs. The day Lucy met Sam, again. 3 days later, Lucy was moved to a regular observation room. The bandage was still on her head. Her left hand still bore the mark of the IV needle. She could walk slowly with the support of a crutch. That afternoon, the door opened. Not a doctor, not a detective, but Sam. He stood in the doorway, still wearing that old canvas bag, his gray shirt washed until faded. But Lucy recognized something in him had changed. He no longer avoided people's gaze. Emma jumped up from the chair. Uncle Sam! She rushed over, hugging his leg. Sam froze for a moment, then reached down to pat her head, a hesitant but warm gesture. Lucy looked at him, her voice hoarse but clear. You saved my life. Sam shook his head. I just did what needed to be done. Narrator, slow, drawn out. The man who once pulled so many lives from the line of fire now tried to shrink himself behind a mop. But there are debts that even he is not allowed to deny. Lucy was silent for a few seconds, then said, They told me about you, about who you were before. Sam's eyes darkened momentarily. He turned to look out the window, as if there were a distant desert out there that only he could see. They shouldn't have dug that up. Lucy braced her hand against the bed rail, leaning toward him. Why would a doctor like you accept being a janitor, hiding everything you used to do? Sam didn't answer immediately. He looked at Emma, who was sitting back in the chair, listening without fully understanding. Finally, his voice rang out, deep, slow, as if pulling each word from somewhere very deep. Because I wasn't there when my wife died. The room suddenly felt cramped. Lucy didn't speak. Emma was quiet too. Though she didn't grasp the full meaning, she felt the heaviness in the air. Sam gripped the strap of his bag tight. I was a combat surgeon. That day, I was in the operating room. She went with the convoy delivering medical supplies. I told her it was dangerous. Yet, I still let her go. He swallowed, staring into the void. When they brought the wounded back, I saved many people. But she was dead before she arrived. Voiceover, soft but solemn. From then on, for Sam, every emergency had a face, and that face never opened its eyes again. Lucy whispered, "You blame yourself." Sam let out a laugh, but the sound held no joy. 8 years. Every day I ask myself, why were others saved by me, but the most important person wasn't? I don't think I deserve to hold a scalpel ever again. Lucy inhaled deeply, feeling a sharp pain in her chest, but she spoke anyway. Sam looked straight into her eyes for the first time. In that instant, Lucy clearly saw that this man wasn't just a skilled doctor or a quiet janitor. He was a man torn between two poles: guilt and duty. You can hide from the hospital, from the battlefield, but you can't hide from the fact that you were born to be a doctor. Lucy spoke slowly, pausing between words, wanting every syllable to be carved in. Emma chimed in, voice small but sure. "I don't know about Uncle's past. I just know. I want you close by, because when you're there, I feel Mom is safe." Sam looked at the girl. In those small eyes, there was no judgment, only the absolute, rustic trust of a child. Narrator, closing this section. Sometimes it isn't court verdicts or military records that pull a human being back to themselves. It is a sentence from a child who believes he is a hero. Sam lowered his gaze, nodding slightly. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to fully hear one sentence. You saved someone's life. And that still means something. 3 days after Sam's visit, Lucy was strong enough to stand. She still had pain in her ribs, taking careful steps with her crutch. But the look in her eyes had returned to the inherent determination of a person who does not submit easily. That morning, Detective Cole returned. He placed a thick file on the table. "Miss Marshall, we need you at the board meeting this afternoon. The FBI has enough evidence. Milton is on the official suspect list." Lucy gripped the bed rail tight. She knew this moment would come. She just hadn't expected to face Milton while her body was still bandaged like this. Cole continued. "But I need to say one thing. Mr. Avery." Lucy looked up immediately upon hearing the name. "He might not appear anymore. He left work this morning and requested a temporary leave of absence." Lucy stayed silent for a few seconds, as if trying to process the information. "Where did he go?" "We're not sure. He hasn't committed any crime, so we can't force him. It seems like he's trying to stay away from trouble." Voiceover, sinking low, slow. Those who have survived war often have a singular instinct. Stay away from places where they feel they might lose something more. Lucy just nodded. "Let me handle Milton first." The board meeting at 3 p.m. Harrington Dynamics HQ was brightly lit, as if nothing gruesome had happened in the basement a few days prior. Employees walked about normally, but everyone glanced at Lucy as she entered the lobby, left arm in a cast. Head still taped, but her upright posture unchanged. A few people whispered, "She actually survived. So, the rumors are true. The CFO was involved?" Lucy didn't stop. Step by step with the crutch, eyes fixed on the elevator leading to the executive floor. When the elevator doors opened, the narrator's voice dropped, slowly peeling back the layers of tension. The 12th floor, where million-dollar decisions are passed, and sometimes where sins are also concealed. The board of directors sat in a long row, 8 people, all turning to look at Lucy as she entered the room. George Milton was already seated there. Gray suit, perfect tie, hair carefully slicked back, but there was something beneath that surface, like a violin string stretched to the point where a mere touch would snap it. Lucy placed the documents on the table, offering no greetings. Her voice was slightly hoarse but steely. "Let's begin." The battle lines open, Lucy presented every irregular transaction. Hidden transfers, shell companies, forged digital signatures, cash flows not matching quarterly reports. Every piece of evidence projected on the screen was a knife stroke cornering Milton. Milton slammed his hands on the table, then shot up. "You are slandering me." A board member frowned. "George, sit down." Milton pointed straight at Lucy, voice high but trembling slightly. "She suffered head trauma. She's unreliable. I have worked here for 20 years. Lucy cut him off, voice cold as ice. "And in those 20 years, you stole $18 million. No one dared to breathe loud. The atmosphere compressed as if the entire room had been sucked of oxygen. Lucy continued. "The night of the attack, I had all the evidence to give to the FBI. You knew that. And you sent people to the parking garage." Milton slammed the table with a boom. "There is no proof." The door burst open at that exact moment. Sam appears. Not the FBI. Not Detective Cole. It was Sam Avery. He stepped in wearing ordinary clothes, a dark blue shirt, dark trousers, the canvas bag still slung across his body as usual. No one had time to react. Lucy's eyes widened, surprise mixed with something very hard to name. Milton bored his eyes into Sam. "Who are you?" Sam stood at a distance far enough not to threaten anyone, but close enough to make Milton take a step back. His voice was deep, even, never raising in volume. "The person who saw what you did." Milton's face turned red. You're just a janitor. Get out of here." Sam didn't flinch. His gaze upon Milton was like reading a patient's heart rate during clinical hours, no animosity, just evaluation. "I've seen this type before." He spoke slowly, as if drawing years out of his voice. "People who attack the weak to hide their own filth." Milton ground his teeth, growling. "You don't know anything." Sam replied, "I know she almost died, and I know you wanted that to happen." In a moment, Milton's mask cracked, his jaw clenched too hard. Veins bulged in his neck. He shouted, "You don't understand the price I paid to keep this company alive." Lucy snapped back immediately. "No one asked you to lose your soul to do it." Milton's voice shifted to deep, dangerous. "Go to sleep, Marshall. Don't think you're smarter than me." He walked around the table, heading toward Lucy. Not too fast, but enough to create a sense of threat. Narrator, overflowing, compress it. There are moments when a room, though full of people, holds only two adversaries facing each other. Milton took 2 more steps, and Sam stepped up too. Soundless. No one had time to breathe. Sam stood shielding Lucy from Milton, only half a meter apart. He didn't raise his voice, but every word dropped onto the table like a weight. "Stop." Milton glared. "Get out of the way." Sam spoke gently, without heat. "If you touch her, you will regret it." It wasn't a threat. It was like a doctor's diagnosis. Certain, unambiguous. Milton smirked in contempt. "You planning to hit me? A janitor?" Sam looked at him long enough to make Milton look away. "I've seen that look on the battlefield." He spoke as if remembering a grave somewhere. The eyes of a man who doesn't realize he's gone too far to ever come back. Milton clenched his fists. He prepared to lunge. The whole room jumped up. But no one had to do anything. The FBI bursts in the doors, burst open a second time, this time revealing 4 federal agents. Leading them was a short-haired female agent. Voice hard. "George Milton, you are under arrest for financial fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and directing violent crime. Milton went rigid. An agent cuffed his hands. He tried to turn back, snatching a final sentence. Harrington survives because of me. You, Marshall, you'll drown without me. Lucy didn't reply. Sam looked straight at Milton, unwavering. This company almost buried her because of you. Don't you ever mention the words "save lives" again. Milton was dragged from the room. The doors closed. The room seemed to become half as heavy. After Milton was arrested, a board member, Miss Evelyn Drake, stared at Sam. Who are you, really? Sam hesitated slightly. Then, for the first time in years, he spoke fully. Sam Avery, combat surgeon. Currently, the company janitor. The room sank into silence. Lucy looked at him, not as a superior, not as the person he saved, but as someone seeing the submerged part of this man, the part he always hid. Narrator, lowering voice, closing the section. Some days, it isn't guns or evidence that rewrite a person's fate. It is the moment they decide to stop running. Sam bowed his head slightly, turning away. He intended to leave the room. Lucy called after him. Sam. He stopped. Thank you. Sam didn't turn back, but Lucy saw his hand tighten on the bag strap, then relax, like someone had just unlocked a shackle worn for too long. Sam walked out of the room, leaving behind a Lucy with a new question. If a man like him had turned back to take one step out of the shadows, could she pull him into the light completely? The clock on the hospital wall ticked past 6 p.m. Lucy stood, leaning lightly on the corridor railing, still holding her crutch. Neck tilted slightly to ease the pain under her head bandage. She looked down at the courtyard outside the hospital where families waited for news, clutching coats tight against the afternoon wind. Narrator. Deep again. In the days after survival, one doesn't learn how to breathe. One learns to believe they are still allowed a future. Lucy saw Sam standing down below. He wasn't sitting, not leaning against the wall, just standing, hands tucked lightly in his pockets, gazing into the distance as if some battlefield were replaying before his eyes. Lucy decided to go down to meet him. When the automatic glass doors slid open, the cold wind hit Lucy's face, making her shiver slightly. Sam turned around immediately. Not a social reflex, but the reflex of someone who had lived too long in an environment requiring constant vigilance. Lucy approached, slow but steady. You disappeared all day. Sam nodded slightly. I needed time. Lucy looked at him, her brown eyes shining with something between gratitude and severity. Are you going to leave the company? Sam was silent. The wind blew, making his shirt flutter. The familiar canvas bag tapped lightly against his hip, its strap worn and old. After a long beat, he said, I did the thing I'm best at one more time, and that scares me. Lucy furrowed her brow. Scared of what? Sam exhaled, eyes downcast. Scared that if I return to medicine, he'll lose someone important again. In that moment, the streetlight reflected on his face, revealing every wrinkle pressed down by the years, Lucy realized. This man wasn't hiding from the truth. He was hiding from the pain. She spoke slowly. You didn't lose her because you were a doctor. You lost her because of the war. Sam looked in another direction, not in denial, but because the sentence was so true, it hurt. Lucy tightened her grip on the crutch. I need you. Sam started, looking back. Lucy continued, voice serious but warm. Not in the company, but out there. She pointed toward the dilapidated neighborhoods in the distance, where faint lights cast upon mottled walls as if trying to hold onto a final breath. Out there, it's full of people with no money for hospitals, no insurance, no one to save them when they're hurt like I was today. Sam looked where she pointed. The poor neighborhoods, the patched roofs, the forgotten people. Lucy gripped the crutch handle. I want to found a community medical center. Low cost or free, for those abandoned by the system. Sam remained silent, his eyes shifting slightly, the look of someone remembering standing in a field tent, saving a child amidst the sound of gunfire. Lucy continued, voice low but steadfast. And I want you to lead it. The night wind blew past, carrying the distant sound of car horns. Sam looked down at his hands, fingers that had saved so many lives, yet had trembled because they couldn't save the most important one. He whispered, I'm not sure I'm qualified anymore. Lucy replied instantly. You don't need qualifications, you need a heart. And you have more of that than any doctor I've ever met. That sentence made Sam close his eyes for a moment as if it struck the place he hid deepest. Just then, Emma ran out from the hospital, hugging Lucy's leg tight. Mommy, is Uncle Sam leaving? The question was simple, unforced, but it acted like the final pull keeping Sam there. Emma looked at Sam with wide, round eyes. You have to stay here. Because you saved my mom. Sam crouched down to the girl's level. He could fight the battlefield, fight the guilt, fight himself, but he couldn't fight the sincerity of a child. He spoke softly. I'm not going anywhere. Lucy couldn't hide a faint smile, not of relief, but of a beginning. The next months, time flowed like water, each day slowly opening a new chapter. Narrator. There is no road back, only the road forward. Lucy used her personal funds and the board's support to buy an old building in the Bronx. Peeling walls, cracked floors, windows clouded with dust. But Sam saw what others didn't. Boom! He swung the sledgehammer into a dead wall, breaking it down. No one thought a doctor could wield a sledgehammer with such force. Lucy stood watching, arms crossed, smiling. You act like you've done this before. Sam wiped the sweat away. In wartime, field hospitals don't build themselves. Emma ran around the floor, jumping over piles of rubble, laughing. Clearly. I'm going to decorate the pediatric room, Lucy warned. Emma, careful you don't fall. But the girl just laughed. Uncle Sam is here to save me. Sam stood still for a second, realizing that within the girl existed the faith that he still lacked for himself. The journey of a doctor's return, Sam began studying for his recertification exams. Late at night, he sat in his small room, opening anatomy books. Memories of surgical techniques, trauma management, post-op care, returned like old friends. Sometimes he stopped his pen, hand trembling slightly. Images of the old battlefield rushed back, blood, screams, his wife lying motionless. Sam breathed heavily, placing his hands on the table, waiting for the wave of memory to pass. Voiceover, sinking low. Not everyone conquers their past by forgetting it. Sometimes they win by accepting it exists without letting it lead the way. Lucy often stopped by with coffee, letting Emma sit and study next to him. She watched him do practice tests, eyes focused, hands skilled, and knew he would make it. The medical center opens 1 year after the attack. The old building had transformed into the Avery Marshall Community Health Center. The sign shone in the sun. Clear glass doors, a waiting room with children's toys. Emma's drawings hung all over the walls. Lucy stood next to Sam as he cut the ribbon. Emma jumped up and clapped first. On opening day, they examined over 100 people. Sam moved continuously through each room, voice deep and steady, hands calm like a man who had found what he lost. An old woman shakily held his hand. Doctor, thank you. Sam smiled a smile Lucy had never seen before, a smile that truly opened up. Lucy stood in the corner of the room, watching him. Not with the gratitude of someone once saved, but like someone seeing a puzzle piece finally placed in the right spot, a private moment. At the end of the day, when the last patient had left, Lucy brought 2 coffees up to the center's rooftop. Sam stood looking at the city in the distance, lights, sirens, the endless rhythm of life. Lucy handed him a coffee. "Today, you were amazing." Sam smiled softly. "Thank you." Lucy tilted her head. "You've become the person you were born to be." Sam shook his head. "No, I just managed to keep walking thanks to you and Emma." Lucy replied slowly. "We didn't save you, you saved yourself." Sam looked at her. Longer than usual. Long enough for Lucy to sense something very different in that gaze, something they had silently named all year long. The door opened. Emma ran up, holding up a new drawing. Sam wearing a white coat, Lucy standing next to him, and above, the figure of a woman with wings, Sam's wife. "She's smiling," Emma said. "Because you're helping so many people." Sam looked at the drawing, eyes reddening. But no tear fell. Lucy stood beside him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder.
If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to support the channel so we can create more videos. Thank you, everyone.